Thank you for coming in and speaking to us about your music and about the videos that we have done for you. This is Jen Arrington, the amazing Jennifer Arrington, who has been played for over 10 years, worshipped for over
Oh, I
10
mean, she's
years,
been worshiping her whole life, I
whole
think.
life. And now she's expressing, finally we're able to listen to her constantly with her new album. We just can't wait for the other ones whenever they come in their own time. But we've been absolutely privileged to
Mm.
be next to Jen when she was putting these songs together, when she told us about some of the verses, and that was a few years ago, and a couple of years ago, I remember
I
we were
remember
in the
getting
park.
voice texts.
Yes, and you were saying, I'm working on a song called Linger,
Uh,
and oh my goodness, and that was a while ago. So,
yeah.
and I feel like only now people are singing what you've already created 2, 3 years ago,
Hmm.
which is so phenomenal. Please do tell us how Rebirth has come up, how you created all these songs, what led you to create these songs. If you want to pick a song, you want to talk about whatever you feel like, please do.
Okay. Well, I'll try to keep it short because it's a long story, but yeah, about I don't know, almost 3 years ago now, the Lord just radically delivered me out of depression, like pretty bad. And when he did that, it was like he led me through this rebirth process, and it included like lots of ecstasy and rapture and just complete heavenly encounters. And it began really with him allowing me to see how much pain I was in and how dark things were. And I physically remember smelling burial spices, and I was like looking around, like it was the afternoon, and I'm like, what is that coming from? And then the Lord said, the grave clothes have come off. And he took me into him in the light, shooting towards a light, just blowing through these gates and doors. And it was bliss. And I remember it was like probably 20 or 30 minutes of this bliss. And the tears were just pouring in this full bliss. And I fell asleep in that place. It was like, and then there were about 10 days of just radical encounter, and songs were birthed in the middle of the night in those days. And after that, it was like, okay, God, like, I've always been all in, but it's like, okay, what more can I like? So I started setting aside, an hour in the middle of the day just to be, no prayers, no reading the word, no journal, nothing, just waiting on him and being with him. And so many songs came in just a short amount of time. And it was like the Lord would wake me up in the middle of the night with a sound or with a melody or with the lyrics for a whole song. And they're all so different, and they're all connected to realms, they're connected to these open places in him, in his heart. And they're all so different. And honestly, I know I don't have the full revelation for any of those songs. It's just he's pouring it out and he's opening things up. And I didn't even know it was going to be an album. I knew they were special, but I was kind of just sharing, really just sharing them with you, Anka, and maybe 2 or 3 other people tops. And then eventually the Lord was like, okay, it's time to get a producer, and you were my biggest encourager with that, honestly. But it just happened really quickly after that. And since then it's been wild to see what God's doing. And I'm so honored and grateful. And just being able to watch you guys, because you've been watching me come into this, and I've been watching you come into what you're doing too. And it's like we've gotten to be so intimate, so close, and seeing this development and this new metamorphosis in each other, through the last few years. And honestly, for Stephen, through the last decade, we've been watching each other grow and morph. And it's just such an honor. I really honestly feel so blessed to know you guys. And I just know this is like literally the tip. You know what I mean? This is the tip of the iceberg. Like, I can't imagine what it's going to look like 2 or 3 years from now for you guys. It's going to be totally different than what you're doing right now, but you're opening this door and you're opening this pathway in the Christian, the Jesus Christ-centered media, and it's going to look so different because of what you're doing. And so, yeah, it's an absolute honor to just be part of that and to collaborate how we are. It's just so cool.
Wow. Ditto. We'll feel the same way.
Yes,
We're just
absolutely.
so incredibly blessed to be able to facilitate what God's doing,
Mm.
being able to just allow him to burst forth out of each of us, completely surrendered to the wine that just is exploding out of us, just for, because I drink your wine, Jen, and it's so sweet, it's so intoxicating, and it's so it takes you into another realm. It takes you, I mean, I've been drinking your wine for a while. We go from glory to glory to glory to glory to glory, and this glory that we're on, that you're on, is just another level. It's like you skipped a few glories. You kind of catapulted to the 5th dimension glories. It's like, but even talking about your sound, talking about your heart, I get this vibration inside of my chest, inside of my center, and I get this frequency, and I get this different kind of drunk, this different kind of whack, as we say over here in Wales, and it's tender. It's very tender.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And we're very honored to be walking with you and to call you sister.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Jen, we know about Rebirth and the songs. With this album, you've collaborated with other people too, haven't you? And wow, tell us about that. How did you get to that journey?
Oh, wow. Well, it's just the same as the songs came. It was like the Lord just did it. It's very different. I didn't strive in any single step of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Aside from like becoming public, that was like the only difficult thing for me, really, was, asking for people to partner with it and trying to like showcase things. You know what I mean? That was literally the only thing that I felt like kind of was a little bit of a rub for me. But the collaborations just came, the one with Truth Seeker was just kind of, I was already really just loving some of the stuff that he was putting out. And actually, he's the one that introduced me to Daniel. But and his music is just amazing, just very revelatory. And I love his sound, he's got a certain style that comes out in his voice and in the way he enunciates and the way that he creates his raps and everything. And he sings, when he sings too, and just the whispering, the breath, I could feel like he entangles the breath of Yahweh, and I just felt like I really wanted him to be a part of that song Gazing, because in that song the Lord was just opening up his eye. And anyway, so when I reached out to him, it was like we didn't know each other, you know what I mean? Like I had commented on a few of his things, but he's got thousands of people following him, but he felt it, and he was like, yeah. And like within a couple hours he had written a rap, he had written something, and he was like, yeah, don't, we were in a financial kind of bound place at the time, and he was like, don't worry about it, because I was like, how, what do you charge, and like whatever, and he was like, don't worry about it, I feel the Holy Spirit on this, It was really honoring, and it was like, wow, okay, that in itself, the fact that he just did that quickly and with honor and respect towards someone he didn't know, it felt like God was breaking a boundary off right then and there for me, And then same thing with you. It was like, your poetry is just indescribable, honestly. And just another open open gate, an open path in every word and in between the words, and just the things that you frame up with your words without saying it. You don't speak very plainly, and it creates this endless, like, multi-dimensional thing. And I wasn't expecting it, but this one song, the joy, the Lord just woke me up in the morning with that melody, and he was like, if you don't go and put this into your program right now, you're gonna miss it. And so I got up, and that whole song, like this really cinematic kind of orchestral song, came out in 4 hours. And I sent it to you, and it was just an instrumental, but immediately you got this poem, and it was just like, that's what it was for. You know what I mean? Like, it created this sound frame for the joy,
Yeah.
which really is another one. Like, I feel like dancing, like that one is another one that is paving the direction of the body of Christ as a whole, and the direction of the planet, really. And so it's just amazing, how God did it all, really. It was just the whole thing was just a supernatural album, really. It's just
My
like, wow.
favorite one is Conception, I must admit. I just love Conception. I love the rock part in the end, You don't hear a lot of
Yeah.
worship music with rock parts in it,
Uh-huh.
Maybe I'm not listening to the right things, but
That
it,
one kind of felt more like how Daniel does it. Like, it was like the feeling of it. Like, I got the lyrics, and it was this poem, and it's literally just the whole song is two chords back and forth. Da-na-na-na-na. That's the whole thing. And I was just like, this is very, like, boring, but it's very powerful.
yes.
Because all I had was just the acoustic guitar, and a djembe. That's like literally all I had. But I knew it needed this power at the end. It was almost like creating this, like, this swirl throughout the whole song. And then by the ending point, you're in it, and it's like the eye of the hurricane, and you're realizing, whoa, I have this power inside of me, to co-create and to be aware, at that level. And so anyway, when I had sent it to Zach, it was pretty interesting because he's in a rock band, and he produced that one, and Rob did all the other ones, but Zach produced and, created all of the instrument parts on that song outside of those basic ones I just shared with you. But I shared a little bit of how I wanted it to sound, and he just did it. And is kind of a new thing for him because he's young. He was like 18 at the time, maybe 19. But he was like, this is blowing my mind, like what you've released in this song, because he's a believer in everything, but it was just like really rocking him because it is scripture, but it's just the way that it's spoken. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like, get off your butt, like, this is it. I mean, which feels really bold, but the Lord did, it's his words. I didn't come up with it, so. But yeah, it's one of my favorites too, for sure.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I certainly love that song. And how you obviously us for a while, and you know Stephen for way more than me in the flesh. But you've had this trust, let's just say, to give your songs to us, and for us to be able to represent them visually and express them in a visual way, and that's for us is glorifying in full on. Was that difficult? Were you thinking of maybe what are they gonna come up with? Talk us through about the feeling of giving your songs to us, and when you got them back, how did you feel?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't difficult at all because both of you are seers, and that's always been clear from like the first time I met both of you. You know what I mean? Like, as soon as I met you, you're talking about what you see. Both of you were, Stephen, I remember you talking about just coming out of heaven, and like that was one of our very first conversations, and you're talking about where you've been and what you've been seeing. And Anka, when you first came up to me, you're just like, I remember you met me and you were just like, you are a lot, you were just speaking over me, like all of this stuff that you saw, like this lioness and all this. And that was when I was in depression. I was in a very broken place inside, but it was like both of you speaking what you see. And it was just like, that's so clear that is who you are. And it's who all of us are, but you guys are really mature in that area. And that's like how the Lord has been doing things with you your whole life. And you've
Mhm.
never shut it down, or maybe if you have, it's really been open for a long time now and stewarded. So anyway, when giving you the songs, it was like, it was already a huge honor because I knew you're going to see things beyond what I can. And the first one was Linger. And I mean, I was weeping within seconds, it was like full on sob because it was just like, that song especially is a very visual song. It's all these pictures, of how we are meant to be in union and in the be still and know of God, and Stephen, you put it together so insanely beautifully and professionally, and just everything. It was just every single moment of it. And you're capturing these places where I've been with the Lord visually, because I'm a seer in a lot of ways too. And you brought those exact pictures and certain shapes and certain alignments of things right into the song of the first one. And I was just like blown away because, just like Daniel, it's like, you see me, you see the inner, the spirit me, like really. And it was from that point on, it's just everyone has been next level, they're all equally amazing, but it's like there's just this build of who we are. And for me, it's very personal because it's like all of these are like layers of me, but it's all of us, you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, it's just incredible, absolutely incredible how different every single one has been, even though it's the same, voice or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like there's so many different layers and so many different things that are accentuated. And yeah, I mean, honestly, I could talk about each one for ages, but I
Mm.
really just love how you guys, it's like you are visually teaching people about the depths of revelation that is in the sound. It's like you're opening up the sight for what God has already put in the sound. And it's just like next level. I can't imagine going beyond
No,
that.
you know what is so, I mean, thank you for that. Um, I mean, it's true, it's it's there's something that's been on our heart, in my heart, for a while about kind of what we're doing. And it really boils down to what's been there's this. I kind of lock into certain scriptures and really the prayers of Jesus. And for a while, I've been in the prayer of Jesus where he prayed to his Father, said, Father, that they would know that they're one in me as I am in you. And the reality of that, and the compound factor of that, of when in the beginning he also said that everything would reproduce after its own kind. And the reality is that we have this capacity as the body of Christ to continually reproduce after our own kind in the spirit, compounding, 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 and there really is no limit. Um, when one person produces something in the spirit like you have done, and then you trust, you worship in spirit and in truth, you are trusting and partnering with another son of God in spirit and in truth, and having full faith in that, and allowing another individual to then um, partner with something to then another reproduction
Mm,
happens,
yeah.
another phase of that reproducing after its own kind happens. It would be amazing to me for more and more and more and more creative avenues because that's the Father's heart to create, to open up, to then even partner again
Yeah.
with what we have done, and then evolve it into something even greater, and I don't even know what that looks like, but I believe that 10, 15, 20, maybe, I don't know, maybe 5 years, maybe next year, the Father releases another creative revelation that allows for even the videos that we produce with your sound to be taken to another level.
Yeah.
Don't even know what that looks like, because the Father hasn't revealed that yet. But at some point, I believe it will, because we can reproduce after, it can just continue to evolve from glory to glory to glory. And I don't know, it's just,
Yeah.
because of when we go in and we're with the Father, and yes, we have these spiritual senses. So we hear things, we see things, we taste things, we smell things, we feel things. But to me, it is still has this, and they mix and meld together in this otherworldly reality and understanding of things. But it's still bound by these five senses.
Mhm.
I know there's more senses. you know, I know there's a greater level of experience and sense in the reality of the Father than goes beyond just hearing and seeing. There's
Yeah.
something dimensional, something otherworldly and other reality that's coming.
Yeah.
And it's gonna wreck our minds.
You guys are already opening that up, honestly. You're opening it up. It seems like this two-dimensional visual thing, like we're watching it on a screen. But the way that you entangle with your people, your creatives, and the way that you entangle with the Lord in all of that, it brings these textures and it brings these fragrances and it brings these flavors just by watching this two-dimensional thing that you've created. Like it's got those senses in it, in the spirit. You're opening it up. I would not be surprised if God gives you guys the blueprint for whatever's next.
Oh,
Because steward in this and you're opening it up and your heart is for it. It's really cool. It's really cool to just see, because that's what I get so when I create the songs, like, yeah, it's really powerful. And when I hear them come back from like Rob with all the production on it and the way he pulls things out, it's like, whoa, mind blowing. And like, it's a level of, it wrecks me, you know what I mean? To just hear from that side, like, wow, this is really incredible. And then when I see a video by you guys, it's like, I can taste my own song. I can feel my own textures. It's a whole nother ball game. Like I can smell those, because you guys are bringing it into a whole nother dimension, even though it looks like it's just on this screen. So yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I feel that on everyone. It's not just, you know what I mean? I say that about my own, but because it is, deep in me. But when I first started seeing the stuff you were doing with Laura, like, a year before I came out with my album, it was like I could taste and sense and, you know what I mean? It was like all of that was coming through in the first ones that I saw. So
Mm.
yeah,
That's
you guys
awesome.
you've been doing that.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much. We love you. We absolutely adore you, and we can't wait to be with you. Love you.
I love you so much. Love you both.